Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Harley Carnes podcast, Harley on the headlines. We're going to talk about some of the news that's going on, and I want to thank you before we get started for giving me just a little bit of your time. You could be doing 100 different things, so thank you for spending just a little bit of it here with me. Liking, following, subscribing, helping spread the invitation, that would certainly help. Thank you for doing that if you do. You can tell by the basketball score. The madness of March ended in April with a defensive struggle between the Michigan Wolverines and the Huskies of UConn. The big debate was whether a great defense can beat a great offense. Well, in college, it still can. Connecticut started strong, but ultimately ran into a forest of arms and hands and bodies as the Wolverines put up a wall at the paint and stopped them. Final score, Michigan 69, Connecticut 63. In the pros, it's generally true that a top offense will beat a top defense because there are so many scoring machines in the pros. It's just too much to stop. In college, they're still human. Not close enough to be a lot of fun in the women's NCAA finals. Not on the losing side, anyway. The UCLA Lady Bruins gave the South Carolina Gamecock women a thumping. Solid defense, great ball movement, good shooting. UCLA 79, South Carolina 53. It's the Bruins' first national championship for the women. This is kind of hard to take, and we don't know if it's true yet. Australia's most decorated soldier in Afghanistan now faces charges of murder from the war there, going back a few years. The former SAS officer, Ben Robert Smith, is a military hero of the First Order, is not in any dispute. He won the Victoria Cross, like our Medal of Honor, for defending his platoon from a company of Taliban fighters alone, by himself. No doubt of his bravery and his skills. But in a lower court, a civil court, certainly less than criminal court evidentiary precision, there was the claim that he did shoot a couple of unarmed Afghan fighters and, more to the point, ordered a couple of rookies to shoot them, to, quote, blood them, to have them take shots at something other than paper targets. Well, that court action was related to media reports that Ben Roberts Smith had done that. He went to court in a defamation suit, and then he lost that suit. There's more, too. There was extreme aggression in one of the most dangerous and threatening war circumstances anywhere, and an actual war crimes trial on the specific charges has not yet been held, but it is on the way. They have charged him with murder. Is there enough evidence to convict? Well, we don't know that yet, and I'm not going to convict him. Not here. Why would people want to resist the construction of a data center? In Indianapolis, one of the members of the city council was shot at. Actually, someone fired 13 rounds into the front door of Ron Gibson's home. Fortunately, did not hit anyone inside. Gibson and his 8-year-old son were home, asleep at the time. It was nearly 1 a.m. when it happened. Cowardly thing, really. There was a note left on the doorstep, said, "No data centers." Well, a computer data center will improve competitiveness, help grow artificial intelligence capabilities, and produce a great many jobs long term, not to mention hundreds of construction trades jobs in order to build it. That's why the council approved it. That project will also make noise, use water, demand a lot of power, and produce some pollution during construction. And that's what has spawned the opposition that lost in the political arena. But evidently, somebody got upset, went home, got a gun. Now the police are hunting them. Not so smart, really. Politicians are not known for their deep thinking. Take the president of Mexico, for example. Claudia Sheinbaum is upset with the news media because she says their coverage and the images in publications and on TV of a big oil spill is hurting Veracruz, taking a bite out of hotel and restaurant business. She's probably right. But she's attacking the messenger, not the company that spilled the oil. She thinks media managers should be in direct talks with tourism managers. Well, actually, I'm sure reporters would love that. I mean, there's another news story, another one she won't like and won't help tourism. There are a great many reasons to be upset with the news media these days, primarily because so many of them have allowed their political prejudices to color their reporting to the point that sometimes they report opinions and call it fact. It becomes a bad deal for everyone. But coverage of storm damage or the impacts of an oil spill, they're not that. We think of measles as a nuisance these days. It was at one time eradicated, gone from the U.S. Then it's believed to have come back, brought by illegal immigrants mostly. In other parts of the world, measles is still a very big deal and a dangerous childhood disease. In Bangladesh right now, for example, officials are cranking up another big push for measles vaccines after a new outbreak there has killed at least 98 children. The world has reasons to be concerned about some vaccines because they're too often rushed to market and insufficiently studied for some side effects. The world also has a long list of reasons to be thankful for the science of vaccines. Millions of people are alive today because of them. It's challenging because Mother Nature's always on the move, looking for ways to survive, and that surely goes for germs and viruses. We figure out a way to kill the little nasties, and they mutate and become something stronger, and they do it so fast it's hard to keep up sometimes, and impossible to thoroughly research the negatives in the time available to stop an outbreak. President Trump's hyperbole made another headline this morning. He said a whole civilization will die tonight unless Iran's regime agrees to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He's talking about taking out bridges and electric power plants. Iran is talking about getting people to link arms and make human shields around power plants and on bridges, instead of doing the right thing and just let the oil tankers use the strait as usual. Some liberals claim it would be a war crime if the U.S. took out Iranian bridges and power plants. They call them civilian targets. That's nonsense. There has probably not ever been a war in which bridges were not military targets. Clinton bombed the bridges of Bosnia, turned out the lights too. Heck, Vietnam. We blew up every kind of bridge there. So did the Vietnamese, for that matter. Bridges are key military targets. Heck, that's why castles had drawbridges. You could let it down, you could bring it up. Control of bridges has described military objectives for centuries. Power plants, too, as long as they've been around. Yes, civilians depend on electricity, but so does the military. Both Russia and Ukraine attack each other's electric grid. No one calls it a war crime. Here's something worth noting. Iran has already had its butt beaten badly. It's time the radical Islamists who run that country let their people choose how to live their lives. The Ayatollah structure is not dead. It doesn't want to release its grip. It's talking about surrounding bridges and power plants with innocent civilians. That's not giving up. It booby traps and sets up rings of military resistance to try to keep the U.S. from retrieving enriched uranium, which means it clings to the desire to build nukes someday, the better to destroy Israel and attack the U.S. They have not renounced that intention, which is part of their charter. All of the Iranian aces are in a smoldering pile in the middle of the poker table. It is time they fold and take up another game. Really. Here's proof that American Airlines has a heart. At Douglas International Airport, Charlotte, North Carolina, a swarm of bees had followed their queen into the airliner's jet engine while it was parked, of course. Perfect spot between the vanes of the turbine to build a nest. And a swarm of bees can get pretty busy pretty quickly. Of course, it was not really a good spot. They just didn't know any better. If the pilot pressed the button and the turbine started to spin, those bees would have been rather rudely expelled out the exhaust nozzle, charcoaled by the kerosene burner engine on the way through. They spotted the bees during the pre-flight inspection, though, and called for a beekeeper. Delayed the flight for about an hour to remove the bees safely so they can go pollinate some crops and flowers and such. Way to go, American Airlines. Thank you for joining today for Harley on the Headlines. I do hope there's something worthwhile in these little collections of stories. I hope you'll help put out the word. Maybe get a few more people to join in. Like, follow, subscribe, send some emails. I sure do appreciate the help. In the meantime, I am Harley Carnes. We will talk again, and until then, do yourself a real favor. Make some good decisions in your life today. Be happy. That's actually a choice. And fly safe. It's the only way to get there.